All right, today we're talking about commitment changes everything. What does the word commitment really suggest? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. It usually evokes a strong sense of intention and focus. It's typically accompanied by a statement of purpose or a plan of action. And oftentimes we utilize the word in regards to proclamations that we may make about seriousness of our relationships. I'm in a committed relationship. I'm committed to my work. I'm committed to my children. These are very strong statements. But here's the deal. All of your relationships and how you resolve conflict, all of your communication in your relationships are going to be reflected truthfully by your level of commitment to that person and that relationship. So if you have terrible communication with someone you love, there's a problem with your commitment. Now, here's the weird part. Many people will enter into a relationship, and throughout the relationship, they will debate whether or not they should stay or go, whether or not they should keep you as a friend, whether or not what role, how much value they want to place on the relationship. And throughout that constant debate of should I stay, should I go process, where you don't even have action tied to it. It's not like you're going to break up with them. It's not like you're going to divorce. Well, some people do. A lot of people do, actually. But the bottom line is the vast majority of the time you're debating whether you should stay or should go, you're just being a wimp. You're just sitting there creating a victim theme for yourself. And the problem is that people that sit in the limbo of non-committal, where they're should I stay, should I go throughout their whole marriage, throughout their whole relationship with someone else, they'll sit around and bitch about their quality of their relationship, and they'll bitch about the quality of their communication. They'll bitch about their sex life. They'll bitch about how they treat each other. They'll bitch about all kinds of things. And the reason that they do all of that is because neither of them are committed to each other in a real way. They're in limbo. In their brains, they wish to hell they didn't marry the turd that they're married to. And that is a problem, because you will never get out of your marriage and your relationship and anything out of someone that you commit to without committing. Commitment is a will or won't proposition. It's not a try. But all of these half-assed people that live life today live in tries. They have back doors, and they have other agendas, and they have their social media, and they have all their fantasies, and the grass is greener on the other side, and no one ever loves me, and oh, no one sees my potential, no one cares about me. All their lovely victim themes and all their narcissistic dreams are never going to come true until they understand what commitment really means. Now, here's what commitment means in a relationship, especially a marriage. You get married to love another person. You don't get married to receive love. You get married to give love. That's the deal. That's all. There's no reciprocity. You're not going to get anything in return. Here's the deal. If both of you do what you said you would do when you got married, which is to give love, you would receive love. But you see, we'd rather bitch about what we're not getting. You're not loving me. You're not do. Well, the truth is, maybe they don't understand what cherish means. The truth is, maybe they don't understand what respect means. And the truth is, maybe you don't either, because you sit around and put up with it and just bitch about it. Maybe you should learn boundaries. What I can tolerate, what I can't tolerate, what I'm going to put up with, what I'm not, where I'm going to draw a line. We have to do that in a relationship, because that teaches the other person how to love you. The offerings of a relationship and commitment are typically statements about behavior and proposed outcomes. I'm committed to you suggests I might not be seeking another relationship, that I'm going to be monogamous to you. That's a suggestion. That's not what everybody does. Also, the institution of marriage is most identified with the pledge of a commitment, which is called a covenant. which means that you've entered into something, if it's a Christian marriage, that is reflective of your relationship with God. And you're supposed to treat your spouse like you would God in a sense of negotiating. Not that they are God, because they're not God. They're a person with a bunch of flaws and a bunch of crap. But the deal is, if you can learn to deal with the turd you married, you could probably do a better relationship with God, because God's pretty simple and straightforward. And you could trust God. You can't trust the one you're with. So it's an undertaking. Legal vows substantiates the pledge to fidelity, because with a legal vow, you never know who you marry till you divorce them. And when you divorce them, that's when you get the full Monty. Or when a will is read. When a will is read, it's the other time you get the full Monty of what people really, 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 really are made up of. The difficulty is that we're making promises about behaviors and outcomes, but ignoring the process that's necessary to achieve the goals. So if you're going to be in a relationship, a committed relationship, the journey is the outcome, not the outcome itself. It's you continuously vesting and having meaning in the journey with this other person and all of the responsibilities that you accumulate through the relationship. The outcomes that I'm referring to are notions that continued love, continued happiness, fidelity, all of these are very important things, but they require commitment. And the truth is that what we really, really, really owe each other, if we're going to be happily married, which happy is one emotion, marriage is filled with all kinds of emotions. But the deal is what you have to ask for is unconditional acceptance. That means you have to give unconditional acceptance that this other person is very different than me, and I've got to put their needs in front of mine and get to know how to meet their needs, and they need to do the same for me, hopefully. And that's what marriage is about. It's about giving love. It is about unconditional acceptance of the turd that you marry. And hopefully they will give you, the turd that they married, unconditional acceptance. And the truth is, if you want to have a real good idea what unconditional acceptance is, have it for yourself. When people are talking about issues, oftentimes they're very disappointed in how they are receiving love. And the deal is that if you're going to receive love, you have to have commitment to do it. If you're going to give love, you have to have commitment to have that too. Let's just say you get a dog and your dog pees all over your house as a puppy. It chews on your furniture. It does all kinds of horrible things. It rips up your carpet, whatever. So the first year you commit to this dog, and this dog is absolute torture. But then there's great moments of love and passion and wonderful things with your dog. Well, in that relationship, as you commit to the dog, you develop a love for the dog, and it develops a love for you. So the truth is, oftentimes, if you walk into any given home, you're going to see the dog treated better than any other human being in the home. The dog is going to get more attention and more love than anybody else in the home because you've committed to the dog. And that's a really sad thing, because that says a lot about our human connection and our human commitments to each other. If you want to really understand somebody's goodness, you have to commit to be grateful to have them in your life. That's what it takes if you want to have a real relationship. It's the phrase of having, if you ever heard of having a lovesick partner that never, that never thinks bad things about their partner. Well, that's a fantasy. People that unconditionally accept another human, accept them with all their frailties and all their good, and are able to see the good in them and understand the good in them and refer to them as the good in them so that they get the good in them. With the changing nature of family dynamics and relationships in a technological age, successful marriages in this century have become something of a mystery. It's pretty amazing because, since we have birth control, everybody's knocking everybody else up. Everybody's having trial runs on sex with everybody else. But it didn't used to be that way when there was no birth control. But now that there's birth control, everybody's breeding with everybody in 50,000 different ways, including chains and leather and all kinds of other stuff. But the bottom line is that we as people are weakening as people as far as taking accountability to our commitments, to our integrity, and to our relationships. And the truth is, when you die, you're going to be remembered by the integrity you had to the relationship with other people. That's why many people will end up in nursing homes with some nurse that they don't even know wiping their ass and nobody ever showing up because they had no integrity in their relationships. And we are hell-bound to have a whole vast majority, 80% of our population sitting in nursing homes just like that because they don't manage their integrity. They don't understand the value of commitment. Commitment doesn't mean you can't change your mind, but commitment is a really important ingredient. So if you're going to take responsibilities, if you're going to enter into things in your life, you better take it pretty damn serious. And the other part of it is stay to it, especially if it involves other human beings. But if you can't fulfill your commitments, be honest about it, because maybe you don't have what it takes to fulfill a commitment. Maybe you asked yourself for $50 and all you had is 5. And if that's all you got, that's all you got. So manage your goals accordingly. Some people like to blow smoke straight up their own ass and commit to do something, and they half-ass do it or never finish it, put it on the side. Those people don't even know what the hell commitment really means, because they can't even make a commitment to themselves. And that's called immaturity. That means you never grew up. You may be 35 years old, but you're worthless as tits on a boar hog. There's a lot of people that go through life without the meaning of commitment, without even having a respect for commitment. And sadly, these people grumble their way through their victim themes all the way through life and never really know what it is to live. You cope with life pretty good. Maybe you do a whole lot of stupid things that you really enjoy, but do you really know what it takes to live? What it takes to live is to actually commit to something and fulfill something and actually create something that you can give back to others. And that includes your marriage. Without commitment, we can never do hard. Hard is what makes your life easy. If I'm going to commit to the hard of learning how to be a plumber, and learn how to continue to build that expertise over my lifetime, there's going to be people that are going to seek me for what I took the time to do hard for. But people in this generation don't do hard at all. And the deal is they don't even wipe their own butt. They get a bidet to do that. So the bottom line is our culture does not embrace commitment. And if it did, we would be a hell of a lot better off, because committed people make decisions. Decided people teach people how to love them. That's what it takes. Indecisive people are horrible to be around. They're horrible to be in a relationship with because they don't know what the hell they want. You can't even figure out what to have for dinner with these turds. And then they complain about whatever you pick for them because they're children. Commitment is what it takes to be an adult. And until you learn the value of a commitment, don't call yourself an adult. The similarities are not extent of the connection between childhood and later relationships. And this is what we have to understand. Some people never evolve from their childhood. Some people never understand what it takes. You've got 40-year-old people living with their parents and off their parents' retirement who are perfectly capable of taking responsibility for their life. And everybody makes 1,000 excuses, including them, and they live in their lovely little victim themes, but they're worthless. And when they die, nobody's going to remember them because they sat on their ass in their parents' house living off other people. And if you're going to be that way, you're going to live a life, you're going to cope with life, but your life is empty. It doesn't have much. And people that don't create things in this life that they take accountability for don't have much of a life. And here's the sad truth: a lot of people are not having children anymore. So they get married, but they're into themselves and they're into their travel, their beautiful home, and all their crap. But the deal is, when they die, nobody could give a rat's ass about their death because they were selfish pigs. And selfish pigs are not people you look up to. But if they want to spend their whole life making their job their value and their self worth, that's great. But you're already dead once you retire because you never made a life. And that's why commitment is so important. And you have to continue committing, especially to relationships. And relationships are hard. Relationships require you to tolerate betrayal and failure and horrible hurts. But you know what's more important is the testimony on the other side, which is how you dealt with it, because that's how you teach other people. That's how you give something back to other people, is what you learn when you make a hard choice, when you stay with that choice, when you endure, when you work and try to make something good. But if you're married to a turd who is not accountable, who is not responsible, and does not value commitments, don't waste your life with them. Wait till they grow up. Let them go do it with somebody else. You know, why waste your life with someone that can't commit? That's crazy. It's crazy. It's not even biblical. You know, the bottom line is people have to be adults if they want to be married. They have to understand that I can't make decisions in the own vacuum of my brain. I'm committed to this other person and they have a different perspective than I do. And I've got to actually figure out what is meaningful to them about this decision and what is meaningful to me. And then we come to a compromise, and then we have the basis to make a decision. That is the beauty of marriage, is that you have to get objectives. You have to be willing to hear someone else's wisdom, even if you think they're mentally retarded. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're married, you still need to take into account their meanings in this life. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. Welcome, everybody. All right, we're talking about the commitment and what that brings into our life and how it changes everything. You know, there's this thing called the independence theory, and people that are independent are always looking for alternatives. They're always looking for alternatives to their decisions so that if they made a decision, they may be able to change their mind or adapt their decision to something else. And we continue to do that throughout the whole course of our life. However, when we are committed to another person, we start to devalue all our alternatives because we have to incorporate another person into our life. And in doing that, you have to sustain a commitment to that other person, knowing that you have to compromise. You both have to make room for each other. That is what true commitment is. Now, if you marry a narcissist and you are a codependent, you're going to give in to everything the narcissist wants. You're going to sit around resenting it. You're going to lose your individuality. You're going to live in all their choices, and you're going to lose your life because you yourself had no spine. You had no ability to set boundaries. You had no ability to respect yourself because that's what I did when I was a kid. Well, that's a bunch of crap. You're an adult now. Figure it out. Make decisions, get boundaries, understand what it takes to live as an adult. That's called this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. That's how you set boundaries in a relationship. It's real simple. And they go, well, you've always done, well, I'm not doing it today. And I'm not going to sit around and apologize to you for my existence. I'm going to tell you what I can do and what I can't do. You can decide whether you accept it or not. That's your choice. Not my problem. You know, assessing the qualities of alternatives can be a good thing. But when we live with this grass is greener on the other side concept, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to get out of a relationship much unless you fully commit to it. The depth of your commitment, once again, determines the level of satisfaction that you get out of the other person. The depth of your commitment is going to determine how well you communicate to each other, how well you understand each other, how well you operate. Now, these turds that are narcissistic, they have to be right about everything because their ego is so huge. They shouldn't even be married and they need to stop breeding. But half the people out there that are parents are breeding stock. So what the hell? You know, the deal is you're going to probably marry breeding stock. All of us do. You know, occasionally you get two people that actually are parents. But you know, the bottom line is that if you're going to be married to somebody who's narcissistic, you're going to have boundaries, number one, and you're going to have to demand how they're going to support you and love you. And you're going to have to put, you know, your stake in the ground. And they will either accept it or not accept it. And they usually don't like it. But the deal is narcissists will usually resist somebody that has boundaries until they finally give in. And then they will go find somebody else to torture. You know, the relationships provide us with valuable framework to approach a whole lot of things in life. You know, the ground is so good when a person can commit to their marriage. When you could commit to your marriage, now your problems are all how to navigate life rather than navigate your marriage. You're never going to grow. You know, these idiots that sit around debating their marriage, should I stay, should I go? Should I stay, should I go? You could pay $50 million on therapists and get nothing out of it because you're not committed. You can do all kinds of things. You can go to the Gottman Institute itself and you will get nothing. You go talk to your pastor and do all that crazy crap. You'll get nothing. You'll get a few biblical verses, but if you can't commit, that's you. And you need to figure that crap out if you're going to pay for all these people to give you their opinions and help you. If you can't commit, don't go torture everybody in the world. Figure it out, make a decision, commit, and then we have something to work with. Marital therapy, if you're with a decent therapist, can go pretty quick once people are committed to each other. It's all this bullshit in between. Should I stay with my affair? Should I stay with this? I'd like this other person, or maybe it'd be better off by myself, or I can't tolerate this. But you know, if you got one person doing that in a marriage, you're never going to grow. You can't grow. You know, the deal is that there's a lot of research that confirms that healthy self-sacrifice is beneficial to a relationship. You have to give love. You have to put your partner above yourself if you want a real marriage. And if you can do that to your partner, hopefully they can learn to do that in return. But if you do that for your partner and you sit around nagging them because they don't do it in return, maybe it's time to set a boundary. Maybe it's time to say, hey, don't think it's going to work with me giving and you not. If you don't love me, I'm not going to sit around in the crap you're giving me. I'm going to go find somebody that can love me. The deal is that involved in commitment is the need of satisfaction. And satisfaction comes from acceptance. Acceptance is huge. Who in your life has unconditionally accepted you? That's a real powerful question. It's a real important question. And the deal is, if you could think of somebody else that gave you unconditional acceptance, I would tell you 99% of the time, it's not the turd you married. So we have to figure out how to have that in our marriage if we want to make it work. It's very important for all of us to understand that if you're going to have emotional intimacy with another human being, you have to have unconditional acceptance with it. Commitment is like super glue for a relationship. If you are resolved, both of you, to be in the relationship, all your problems are our problems, and we have to figure it out, and we will figure it out. But these people that have circular arguments where they never resolve anything, they argue about the same thing for year after year after year after year, those people never go anywhere. And that's because they don't resolve arguments because they're not committed to each other. When people need you and they see you committed to them, like somebody goes to the hospital and somebody commits to taking care of that person, even though they have to sacrifice their job or time off or their vacation to go take care of that person, that commitment is integrity. That's the value of commitment. It's called integrity. Integrity, when you're old and you're ugly, is what people are attracted to because you do what you say. You are committed. When you do something, you do it. That is what it takes to be a quality human being. But being committed also means you respect another person. That means you understand them. That doesn't mean you're right. That doesn't mean they're right. What it means is you understand them. And when we take the time to try to understand another human being, now we have the essence of what makes love real. Understanding, not acknowledgement. Oh, that looks like it hurts. Oh, that looks like it'd be a horrible thing. Oh, that must be awful. That's full of crap. That's not love. That's just bullshit. That's just diplomacy. That's what you get from a politician, especially a Democrat. The deal is that you have to give understanding. Understanding is what it takes. You sprinkle on the magic dust of a commitment, which means that you care about what they have to say. You care about enough to shut up and validate. Oh, so what you mean is this. Oh, I understand. Okay, so what you're telling me is you need this, 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 this. Is that correct? That's called respect. Listening is respect, and we owe that to each other. But most people are so self-centered that they don't even know what it takes to listen to another human being. Your poor children, you don't even listen to them. You sit around and do your own crap. You probably have your headphones in your head and you don't even care what they have to say. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, oh, that sounds awful. Oh, it sounds pretty good. Oh yeah. That's crap. If you want your kids to feel like a real human being and know what respect really is, listen to them. Care about them, even if they're talking insanity, which most of the time they do. Validate and understand and track with them, because that's how they form their self-regard. And you play a big role in that. So if you're going to breed and have these little creatures running around, and they're going to grow up and you're going to expect them to play any role in your life. Sitting around and tuning them out ain't going to do it for you. But a lot of idiots sit around and ignore their children because they're idiots and all they care about is their own self. And oh, I work hard and oh, I'm earning lots of money and I have to work 60 hours a week. Then you shouldn't have bred in the first place. But since you did, you better adapt your life to what you took accountability for. You know, if you think of a sports team, the ones that are going to win, the ones that are truly going to be the champions are the ones that are committed the most. Commitment is what makes a sports team. And when you have half-ass sports team and you have a half-ass city, like I live in Seattle, we have half-ass sports here. So, the deal is you're not going to have much commitment. You have a lot of fans that act like they're fully committed, but on the day that they don't do well, they're committed, but they don't like what they're seeing. So the deal is, your city is reflected by your sports team and your sports team's commitment to the sport. There's a lot of people that make multi-millions and millions of dollars, and they're very committed to their role on the team, but their team is not committed to their role to the city. And it's very sad. It's sad to see it. It's disappointing because when you finally see the World Series or when you finally see, the Super Bowl, you finally see the team that actually is the most committed, and that is the one that's going to win. Commitment is your stepping stone. If you're dreaming that a promotion or eyeing a higher position, your commitment to that ideal is what sets you apart. You will figure it out. That is called willpower. The will to power. Nietzsche. So Friedrich Nietzsche. So we will ourselves by envisioning what we want in this life, and that gives us the power to gain that. We also want to focus on our quality. I'm not talking about perfectionism, because if you want to be psychotic, call yourself a perfectionist. Perfectionist is basically the subscription to all mental illness. If you're going to be a perfectionist, you're going to have expectations. If you're going to have expectations, there's going to be failure. There's going to be betrayal. And there's not a real commitment, because if you don't get perfect, I don't want to do it at all. We're such idiots. We're not supposed to be perfect. Get the freaking thing in the ballpark. Are you going to be a perfect parent? No. They're going to hate your guts sometimes. It's going to be get it in the ballpark. That's what you're entitled to. Get the freaking thing in the ballpark and then try to refine it and innovate over time. But this perfectionistic crap and waiting till something is perfect, you're just depressed. You're making excuses. Oh, but I'm committed. Well, be committed if it serves human race. If it's really going to serve a big, big, big important purpose that's going to take the evolution of man to a greater level, then commit to that level. But the deal is, it probably should be a team sport and not your activity. We are not meant to be perfect, but as minds, we all can consult each other and create a better outcome. And that is what's important. Here's the deal. 0.05% of the population of the world are inventors. 0.05%. The rest of us are innovators. And you have to understand, the world is going to evolve by what innovators do with what the people who invent. So the Elon Musks of the world, which I look up to, but the Democrats can't stand because he's actually doing what they promised for years and never did, because they're a bunch of freaking criminals. But the deal is that this dude actually is an inventor. And we better value that. But the deal is, over time, after he croaks off, which he probably will, because the Democrats will probably have him killed, and Trump. But the deal is that once he's dead, people will innovate what he has invented, and it will grow and grow and grow into something else and something else. He's the beginning. And that's what's very important for us, to value people like that. It really helps people to trust each other. Solid trust is the backbone of effective relationships. And it's the cornerstone of trust is commitment. And when you make it a habit to keep your word and see your commitments through, it creates a bond of reliability to those around you. That's what we are actually seeing in this day and age where people are rallying, thank God, rallying around that we have a president who does not care about politics. He cares about what is common sense and what is right, which chimes into every human being. And we can all commit to that despite what party we are. But then you have the retards who have to do their stupid advocacy problems, which we've voted for a bunch of advocates who are protesters rather than real people with ideas. People with real ideas we can commit to, and that's important. And when you have leadership, you have people with ideas and common sense that are doing what's right for the majority of others. This is important for us as human beings. Commitment isn't just about sticking to something, it's about being continuously open to becoming better at it. That's called evolving. Evolving is what makes us learn. Evolving is where wisdom comes. Knowledge in the first chapters of your life is what we gain. Wisdom is what applied knowledge is, and that's what we do with the knowledge that we've learned. So, people that in their first chapters of life are not always the smartest and the wisest, but as they get older, they learn where their knowledge works and where their knowledge doesn't, unless they get lazy, which a lot of them do. There's a special kind of comfort that comes with stability, whether it's your personal life or your work environment. But stability is commitment. And that's what it takes to stabilize a team. That's what it takes to stabilize your family. It's what it takes to stabilize your marriage and every relationship you have in your life. It helps you grow because it holds you accountable and you hold yourself accountable for what you've committed to. But many people can't do that. They got to get on their social media and pretend to be somebody else. And they go on dates and they ghost other people. They screw and then they go away and don't and act like you never exist. People are weird because they don't understand commitment. They're immature little children in adult bodies. And there's tons of them, especially if they're out there on dating sites and social media pretending to be something that they're not. And it's sad. It's sad. We as people have to learn how to commit to each other if we're going to have real relationships. And the other problem is you have these closed families, these loyalty based families that have their friends that we've had all our lives and since your childhood. Well, I'm sorry, but not everybody lives that way. And you dudes are going to have to learn to help other people in this life. And if you want to be a turd, be loyal to your family and don't ever integrate other people into your life. It's important for us to take a chance and a leap of faith into other people. That's what it is to live. Leaps of faith. All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to come right back. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about commitment and how commitment changes everything. With commitment, it means you do what you say. It starts with really small commitments that build up your habit of follow through, arriving on time, completing a task by a deadline, sticking to a personal routine. All of these things are very important commitments, and they start with small things. Also, commitments help develop expertise. Think about a pianist practicing every day for years. This form of dedication results in a mesmerizing ability to easily play complex piano compositions. And it's always going to get rough and tough when you make commitments, because commitments mean that you're not always going to fit in everybody's box. Commitment is the resilience you tap into when challenges arise. So commitment means you have the will to live. Commitment means you are a survivor. Commitment means you are bulletproofing your life from depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and all the OCD and all the crazy crap, because you are choosing to be a resilient person. If you're going to have mental illness, you're not very good at committing to life. Now, here's the deal. Meaning is what you do well. Purpose is what you give away that you do well. Commitment is a resilience to tap into the challenges that arrive in our life. Instead of giving up when things become difficult, commitment reminds you of why you started, and it gives you the strength to continue. And when you're faced with obstacles, remember the bigger purpose behind your efforts and what's on the other side of it. Commitment makes sure you do honest work. And that's an important thing. It is, honesty and commitment go hand in hand. So people that are committed and people that understand what commitment is, it's easier to trust them. Therefore, they have much greater relationships with other people because they can be trusted, or they get some degree of trust because of their level of commitment. But some people only commit to their job, and then they croak off, and they're replaced by other people, or they turn 50 and are replaced by other people because nobody wants to retire your ugly ass. And so the deal is that we go through this life, and people will commit to us for only so long. But employers, you are a commodity. You're not a human. And you have to realize, as a commodity, you're delivering something, which is great, and you're helping many people, which is great. But if you make that who you are stupid. You need to back up and understand your relationships is where everything lands. If you want to strive to be truthful in all aspects of your work, from the time spent on project to the results you report, be committed. But that doesn't mean you're perfect. Your commitment is much more important than your perfectionism. Good leadership is deeply rooted in commitment. People that you can follow are people who are committed to helping you. Your best managers, if you work somewhere, are people that care about your learning, care about you evolving, care about you taking and empowering you. It's not these turds that want a promotion and that step all over other people and use people. Hopefully, those people will either get buried in the corporation or move out. The deal is that people that care about each other are worth keeping. You want to set a clear direction. You want to put in the effort, and you want to be a role model to others, inspired to follow. But the deal is sometimes you're going to commit to something, and then you're going to give up on it because it ran its course. And guess what? That's okay. But don't sit around going, who am I? What am I going to do with my life? I don't know. I lost my job. Now I don't know who I am or what I want. Well, dig down deep. Look at your childhood. Look what you cared about when you were younger, and get it in the ballpark and make another commitment. It's kind of like going to college. You go for a business degree. You might walk out with a music degree. But the deal is the business degree is what got you in college. That is the beginning of your decision. Commit to that and then see where it takes you. See where it leads you. That's the deal. Commitment is momentum. Commitment is what it takes to move forward. If college, even though you don't know what the hell you want to do with your life, gets you away from your parents and your mommy and daddy and them wiping your ass, maybe Maybe you're going to evolve into your life now. Maybe you're going to have to make better decisions for yourself. Maybe you're going to have to take more accountability for yourself. And maybe that's what that college degree actually buys you, is learning how to be an adult. And then you have to figure out, what am I going to do with the degree, which most of the time nobody ever does anything with their degree, and they end up being a trash man or whatever the hell. But they go do something else. It's okay. If that's what got you out the door and built momentum in your life, take it and run. Your commitments are changing your life. That is the most important part. Commitment also opens up new chances for you. It's a key that opens doors to opportunities that might remain closed. And when you're fully committed to a task, a goal, even a relationship, even if it's just a timeline, that's important. That's important. I'm committed to painting my house. Okay, so go freaking paint your house and be committed to that and figure out day after day after day how much you're going to accomplish and how much you can't, and stay on your schedule and stick with it. And guess what? You're going to gain self-esteem once you finish. Commitment helps you deal with not knowing what's next. And it's really important to write down your values and your long-term goals. And when uncertainty creeps in, you want to revisit these core principles that help you make decisions moving forward. It also encourages you to put your heart into what you love. When you really care about something, you put so much effort in. Commitment helps you do just that. It means you're not just doing something, you're really doing it, which means it's more fun and it's more rewarding. So if you love painting, commitment is what gets you set aside every time after every day of work, you start doing your art. You paint. You paint for a few hours, and or maybe an hour, maybe a half hour, maybe 15 minutes. But that is a commitment you make to yourself, and guess what? You may get a great return on that, meaning your brain resets. Maybe a workout. Instead of sitting on your fat ass watching, streaming a bunch of shows, commit. Go work out. 20 minutes of cardio is 65% of an antidepressant. Go do it. Commit to taking care of yourself. Commit to a diet and really do it, and see yourself get smaller and smaller and smaller and have to wear better clothes and get better looking, and other people start looking at you. That feels pretty good. Instead of the 5 brownies you're going to have tonight, or the Ruffles potato chips that you're going to eat, you committed to those. Why don't you commit to something that's good for you? Commitment provides a clear goal for your actions. Studying may seem boring, but if you're committed to becoming an engineer or building bridges, every hour you spend with your books is a step forward. If you're going to be like a therapist, a therapist, you don't go to class for yourself. You go to class for the people you're going to spend time with, because you have to learn really good questions, and you have to learn empathy, and you have to learn techniques, and you have to learn theories, and you have to learn a whole lot of things about other people. You have to learn about certain contextual problems. You have to learn a lot about context and a lot about content. And it's really important, because you're there to be a benefit to your client. You don't sit around learning crap for yourself. That is stupid. You learn it. You don't learn stuff to be a millionaire. You learn stuff to help other people. And in that, you may become wealthy and stable and great in your life. It's a sense of finishing what you start gives us the idea that we are substantial people. But people that can't finish what they start are depressed. And they need to start taking care of themselves, because if you're depressed, you're going to do what you feel rather than what you think. Do you feel like going to school? I don't feel like going to school. You're such a wimp. Go to school and then check in with how you feel. That's what it takes to live. It makes you feel more fulfilled. Check in with how you, after you've done something, check in with how you feel after you've done it. That's important. If you look back on your completed challenges, you are going to have benchmarks in your life that tell you that you are a person who follows through. You are substantial. If you want to make a mark on the human race and make a mark on the existence of humanity and make a mark on other people's lives, then fulfill a challenge. Complete what you start. That is very important. Procrastinators are worthless. They're horrible and they're depressed. And if you're going to live in procrastination, you're not alive. You're just a dud sitting there. And if you're going to live in your feelings, that's great. Lovely. Go sleep for 3 days and see how that feels. Or get off your ass and do what it takes to take care of yourself and then check in with how you feel. That's an important thing. If you're going to live in anxiety, it's called fear. So if you're going to live in fight or flight, you're not going to have much of a life. You're going to live in fight or flight. And if you want to do that, you don't have access to your full brain. You're like a lizard. So the deal is, people that live in anxiety look at everything from a fear perspective. Life is a faith perspective. If I'm going to go to the store, it's a leap of faith. Get married, leap of faith. Have kids, leap of faith. Take a new job, leap of faith. Get in the car, leap of faith. Go to the bathroom, leap of faith. Everything is a leap of faith in this life. Start a new relationship, leap of faith. All of it is a leap of faith if you're going to be alive. But you're never going to take a leap of faith if you live in fear. When fear enters, faith leaves. Faith enters, fear leaves. If you want to be alive, you have to have a faith-based philosophy. It gives you some kind of security and love when you're a person that can be committed and when you're committed to others. It also ties you closer to your community. If you find a local cause you care about and you get involved, it can be anything from, planting trees to mowing the church's lawn, whatever. But commit to doing it and see how it gives you something in return. Also, bouncing back from hard times. Not everything's going to go the way you want it to. People get sick. People have things that get in their way. People's kids need them. Their spouse needs them, and it's inconvenient. And you're going to have to be flexible. And that's called a preference. If you're going to have a good life, you've got to learn to live in preferences rather than expectations. Perfectionists are all about expectations. These turds will make your life miserable. Expectation people are crazy. They're crazy makers. They think they're God. They are ridiculous. If you're going to live in expectations, you think you're God, shut the hell up. Live in preferences. That's what it takes to have relationships. I prefer, if that becomes part of your language, you become a better human being because you can accept the fact that you don't get exactly what you want, but you've communicated what you want to other people. I prefer you talk to me like this. I prefer that. I would prefer we went to here. That's great that you put yourself forward, but you don't have an emotional attachment to a preference, but an expectation. Everybody's a failure. Everybody's betrayed you, and you're going to act like that because we have egos. Commitment builds respect with others because when they see you follow through, even if it's something that they don't believe in, they at least respect you for it. It also builds a working relationship with other people. When they see you committed, even though you don't know what the hell you're doing, you're at least trying to learn something. If they see you experientially experiencing something like I'm going to do the wiring for my house, or I'm going to build this barn, or I'm going to do this thing, I've never done it before. That's great. That's great. You're going to do that. Just don't get electrocuted. Be consultative. Learn from other people that may know better than you. YouTube it, whatever. But the deal is jump in and experience because that's where life is. Experiential learning. And that's what it takes to live this life. All right, that's our show. I want to thank everybody for listening. I love hearing from you. You can do that at voiceamerica.com on our webpage, the empowerment, the health and wellness channels, Dr. Gary Bell's Absurd Psychology. Now, remember, some people are fully committed to being psychotic. Also, the fear of commitment is the question whether you're wasting your time. And the commitment builds hope, and it keeps building trust, and that's what we need. And also, the truth is, in this life, your commitments are what will define you and how you treat those